Okay, every year I say the Super Bowl winner, loser, and MVP the night before the Super Bowl. What a tradition. So let's do it. And somebody said last year in like a YouTube comment that I was looking at the answers. Please, am I doing this so you could look at my beautiful face? It's absurd. Come on. And I got my trusty Super Bowl 32 hat on Broncos Packers. Okay. Super Bowl 1, the Packers beat the Chiefs, Bart Starr's MVP. Super Bowl 2, the Packers beat the Raiders, and Bart Starr's the MVP. Super Bowl 3, the Jets beat the Colts, and Joe Namath's the MVP. Super Bowl 4, Chiefs beat the Vikings, and Len Dawson's the MVP. Super Bowl 5, Colts beat the Cowboys, but losing team linebacker Chuck Howley is the MVP. Super Bowl 6, Roger Staubach is the MVP as the Cowboys beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins would go 14-0 the next year in the regular season and then would lead 14-0, but they win 14-7 against the Redskins. Jake Scott's the MVP. Larry Zonka's the MVP the next year when the Dolphins beat the Vikings. The Vikings are about to lose a lot, sorry, Chester, because the Steelers beat the Vikings and Franco Harris is the MVP. Then the Steelers beat the Cowboys and Lynn Swan is the MVP. Then the Raiders beat the Vikings and Fred Bolitnikov is the MVP. Then the Cowboys beat the Broncos and defensive players Martin and White, are, I think it's Randy White and Harvey Martin, are the co-defensive MVPs. The Steelers win 2 more, both with Terry Bradshaw as MVP. That is against Dallas, and then the Rams, and then it is the Raiders win for the second time. Plunkett's the MVP when they beat the Eagles. Then the Niners beat the Bengals, and Montana's the MVP. Then the Redskins beat the Dolphins, and John Riggins is the MVP. Then the Raiders beat the Redskins when they're trying to repeat, and Marcus Allen is the MVP. The Montana's the MVP again when the Niners beat Marino and the Dolphins. Then the Bears beat the Patriots, and not Harvey Dent. Who's Harvey Dent? Richard Dent is the MVP. Then the Giants beat the Broncos, and Phil Simms the MVP. Then the Redskins beat the Broncos, and Doug Williams the MVP. Then the Giants beat the Bengals, and Rice is the MVP that time. Montana's the MVP again next year when the Giants beat the Broncos 55-10. I think that's the first Super Bowl. That's the first Super Bowl I ever saw. There must have been so much like choker. Imagine like Skip Bayless now when John Elway loses his 4th Super Bowl. It would be insane. Then the Bills start losing. They lose to the Giants and Otis Anderson's the MVP. They lose to the Redskins and Mark Ripken's the MVP. They lose to the Cowboys twice and first Troy Aikman, then Emmitt Smith the MVP. The Niners beat the Chargers 49-26 and Steve Young is the MVP. The Cowboys win one more time. Larry Brown's the MVP when they beat the Steelers, and the Packers beat the Patriots, and Desmond Howard's the MVP. Then it's late. The Broncos beat the Packers, and Terrell Davis the MVP. Then the Broncos beat the Falcons, and John Elway's the MVP. Then the Rams beat the Titans, and Kurt Warner's the MVP. Then the Ravens beat the Giants, and Ray Lewis the MVP. Then the Patriots beat the Rams, and Brady's the MVP. The Bucks beat the Raiders, and Dexter Jackson's the MVP. The Patriots win 2 more times. Brady's the MVP when they beat the Panthers. Deion Branch's the MVP when they beat the Eagles. Then the Steelers start winning. Hines Ward is the MVP when they beat the Seahawks. Then Peyton Manning's the MVP when the Colts beat the Bears. Eli Manning's the MVP when the Giants beat the Patriots. Then then the Steelers win again. They beat the Cardinals, and Santonio Holmes is the MVP. Then Drew Brees is the MVP when the Saints beat the Colts, and then Aaron Rodgers the MVP when the Packers beat the Steelers. Then Eli Manning is the MVP when the Giants beat the Patriots again. And then Joe Flacco's the MVP when the Ravens beat the Niners. Malcolm Smith, the linebacker, is the MVP when the Seahawks beat the Broncos. Seahawks are trying to repeat, but Brady becomes the MVP when the Seahawks don't convert at the 1 yard line. And after the Pats beat the Seahawks, the Broncos beat the Panthers. That's Von Miller. The Patriots beat the Falcons, and that is Brady. The Patriots lose to the Eagles, and that's Foles. The Patriots beat the Rams, and that's Julian Edelman. And tomorrow night, I guess it'll be Patrick Mahomes, the MVP, when the Chiefs beat the Niners.